Yeah. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari
Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivarar Hari.
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari
Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivarar Hari.
Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana
Yashodanandana
Brajajana
Rajanaranjana
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunadhira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunadhira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya
Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya
Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava
Kunja
Punjabi Hari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari
Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivarar Hari
Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya
Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivarar Hari
Yodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajanaranjana
Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajanaranjana
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatiravanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatiravanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Paribhara Vicharya Sutara Shishya Divine Grace ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिला प्रभुपाद की जय।
जय
ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय।
जय
जय गौर प्रेमानंदी।
हरि हरि बोल।
All glories to the assembled devotees.
हरे
Hare.
कृष्णा
All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare.
हरे कृष्णा
Glories to the assembled devotees. Hare
हरे
Krishna.
कृष्णा
All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
जय
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
ओम
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
ओम नमो
Namo
भगवते
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
वासुदेवाय
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam
नारायण
Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram
नरं चैव
Narottamam
नरोत्तमं
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraya
ततो
Tato
जयमुदीरये
Nasta Prashu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprasu Abhadreshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam
नित्यं
Bhagavata Sevayam
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke
भगवते
Bhagavate
सुतं श्लोके
Loke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistake.
Bhaktir Bhavati
भक्तिर्भवति
Naishaki.
नैष्ठिकी।
Hare Krishna, good morning. So we are going to read from Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order, chapter 25, the descriptions of the characteristics of King Puranjana. We are on verse 20. Yadrichaya gatam tatra.
Yadchaya Gatam Tatra
Yadrichaya gatam tatra.
Yadrichaya Gatam Tatra
Dadarsha pramadottamam.
ददर्श
Bhagavata
Uttamam
परमदोत्तमम्
Madhottamam
Dadarsha pramadottamam.
ददर्श
Dadarsha Pramadottamam
परमदोत्तमम्
Brityair dashabir ayantim.
Vritpair
विद्येन्द्रयन्ति
Dashabirayantim
Brityair dashabir ayantim.
Vritpair
विद्येन्द्रयन्ति
Dashabirayantim
Ekaika shatanayakai.
Ekaika Shatanayakaihi
Ekaika shatanayakai.
Ekaika Shatanayakaihi
Yadrichaya gatam tatra.
Yedrichaya Gatam Tatra
Dadarsha pramadottamam.
परमदोत्तमम्
Brityair dashabirayantim.
Vrityair Dashabirayantim
Ekaika shatanayakai.
Ekaika
यत्कृच्छ्रागतं
Shatanayakaihi
Please chant.
तत्र
Yedrichaya Gatam Tatra
Yadrichayagatam
ददर्श परमादोत्तमाम्
Dadarsha
Dadarsha
pramadottamam.
Madhottamam
विद्येदशवीर आयन्तीम्
Brityer dashabirayantim.
Dashabirayantim
एकैकशतनायकैः
Ekaika
Ekaika
shatanayakai.
Shatanayakaihi
यदृच्छायागतं तत्र
Yedrichaya
Yadrichayagatam
Gatam
tatra.
Tatra
ददर्श प्रमदोत्तमम्
Dadarsha pramadottamam.
Madhottamam
दासभिरयन्तीम्
Pritye
Vritpair
वृद्धेर्दशवीरायन्ति
Dashabirayantim
Ekaika satanayaka
Ekaika
Ekashatanayakaihi.
satanayaka.
Anyone else? Okay. In that case, Yadrichaya,
Yedrichaya.
all of a sudden,
All of a sudden,
without engagement,
Without engagement.
Agatam,
Agatam.
Agatam,
arrived,
Arrived.
Tatra,
Tatra.
Tatra,
there,
there,
Dadarsha,
Radha,
he saw,
He
he
saw.
saw,
Pramada,
Paramada.
Ramada,
one woman,
One
one
woman.
woman,
Uttamam,
Uttamam.
Uttamam,
very beautiful,
Very beautiful.
very beautiful,
Brityai,
Brityayi.
surrounded by servants,
Surrounded by servants.
Dashabihi,
Dashabihi.
10,
and then
Ayantim,
Ayantim.
Ayantim,
coming forward,
Coming
coming
forward.
forward,
Eka Eka,
Eka,
Eka.
each one of them,
Each
each
one
one
of
of
them.
them,
Shata,
Shata.
of hundreds,
Of
of
hundreds.
hundreds,
Nayakai,
Nayakaihi.
the leaders.
The
the
leaders.
leaders.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
While wandering here and there in that wonderful garden, King Puranjana suddenly came in contact with a very beautiful woman who was walking there without any engagement. She had 10 servants with her, and each servant had hundreds of wives accompanying him. Please repeat, while wandering here and there
While wandering here and there
in that wonderful garden,
In
in
that
that
wonderful
wonderful
garden.
garden,
King Puranjana suddenly came in contact
King
King
Puranjana
Krishna
suddenly came
suddenly
in
came in
contact
contact
with a very beautiful woman
with
with
a
a
very
very
beautiful
beautiful
woman
woman
who was walking there
who
who
was
was
walking
walking
there
there
without any engagement.
without
without
any
any
engagement.
engagement.
She had 10 servants with her,
She had
She
10
had 10
servants with
servants with
her,
her,
and each servant had hundreds of wives
and
and each
each
servant
servant had
had
hundreds
hundreds
of
of wives
wives
accompanying him.
accompanying
accompanying
him.
him.
Purport. The body has already been compared to a beautiful garden. During youth, the sex impulse is awakened, and the intelligence, according to one's imagination, is prone to contact the opposite sex. In youth, a man or woman is in search of the opposite sex by intelligence or imagination, if not directly. The intelligence influences the mind, and the mind controls the 10 senses. 5 of these senses gather knowledge, and 5 work directly. Each sense has many desires to be fulfilled. This is the position of the body and the owner of the body, Puranjana, who is within the body. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Janajana Shalakaya Chakshusannmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruvaya Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Nagayate Gurum Yatkripatamam Vande Shri Gurum Denataranam Paramanandamadam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaran Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Savodito Gododaya Pushpavanto Chitra Sandhatamo. Once again, the verse Yadrichayagatam Tatra Dadarsha Pramadottamam Britya Dashabir Ayantim Ekaika Shatanayakai. Translation: while wandering here and there in that wonderful garden, King Puranjana suddenly came in contact with a very beautiful woman who was walking there without any engagement. She had 10 servants with her, and each servant had hundreds of wives accompanying him. Okay, so we are continuing uh, the parable by Narada to King Prachini Barhishat. And here in this particular scene, the king is suddenly seeing this beautiful woman who suddenly appears. Therefore, the word yadrichaya, sometimes it is used without any reason. Um, Generally, we can use it in context with the Supreme Lord. Without any reason, he can bless someone. He doesn't have to have a reason, causeless mercy. Yeah. So here also, the suddenly this woman appeared to bewilder him. In a sense, our intelligence is functioning with ignorance, and the mind is wanting to enjoy. So then the mind will think of, what about this, what about that? Suddenly it will think, in your life you have been doing some activity, all of a sudden you have some kind of desire. You never thought about it, but suddenly it appears. Maybe it's from previous life. The super soul sometimes allows us to desire things that we had from previous lives to fructify at that moment. And right, sometimes all of a sudden you think of, I want to take ice cream. Hmm? Or anything, something may pop up in the mind. So in the same way, here all of a sudden this beautiful woman appears, and this means that the original or relationship of the jiva is always with the intelligence. Hmm? And the relationship is always with the intelligence, and there's no cause, just because the mind, intelligence, and ego, that, or the soul, is on top of all that. The hierarchy is like that. But for one who is not controlled, the mind is above the intelligence. Okay, so the mind dictates the intelligence. The mind tells intelligence what it wants, and intelligence, instead of controlling the mind to desire the right thing, it becomes subservient to the mind. Okay, so here, without cause, intelligence is coming up thinking of how to enjoy. In terms of the story, we can say, particularly because of the purport here, Prabhupada writes how a single woman is there, in this case, very beautiful. Um, so the king should be very careful, because anything can happen. um, and the other thing is also said by the acharyas also, that if one accidentally sees a beautiful woman, in this case for a man, or touches a woman, immediately the mind and the intelligence, everything becomes spoiled, because the enjoying tendency takes place. So in terms of the soul, the the jiva shouldn't be exposed to wanting to enjoy. Um, the idea behind is that when we don't understand how our senses are meant to be used, and we use it for our own enjoyment, then we'll never understand the goal of life properly. Um, we know from the Shastra also, Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Uchate. The senses are meant to be used for the Rishikesh, the owner of all senses. In a sense, in a sense, our body and the senses are all under the control of the Supreme Lord. Just like when we get up in the morning, from darkness, we see the sunlight and so on. Actually, we are not the first person to see. The first person is the super soul in our heart. After he sees, because he's always sanctioning, then we are seeing. We cannot see a disturbance in the way the Lord has set up this human body also. The technology is amazing, right? It's so transparent, you know, you don't even know you are actually in a body also. Uh, we the way the Supreme Lord has given us this body, we think we are part of the body. All right. So the intelligence is therefore, in this particular case, the Srila Prabhupada's point is shouldn't be exposed for enjoyable objects. The sound, the lady is walking, maybe she has a bangles in the bells, you know, ankle bells. And then the other thing is what happens if one touches a beautiful young lady. Of course, the point Prabhupada also highlights is that the young man and young woman should be very careful. If they accidentally touch, then they will think of enjoying each other. And if accidentally they enjoy, then later on they can also repent. Why did I do this? You know, I allowed my senses. And so this is Shastra or Shastric rule that a young man and a young lady should never be left alone or in close proximity. Because in modern society, so-called modern society, this rule is not accepted. They think it's putting some one gender is superior or another gender is inferior, or that this will cause problems later on in life, mental health, all kinds of problems they will quote. Nowadays, they will say, the doctors will say, psychologists will say that this is wrong. That's why all of you are not able to live your life happily. That's their conclusion. But this is the rule in the Shastra. Young men and young women shouldn't be. They should only come in contact after proper arrangements are made, like they want to live their life together. Otherwise, we can see in society so much chaos, so much unwanted pregnancies in high schools, and then they don't know what to do. They feel their life is ruined, which leads to the worst case scenario, abortion. Um, so many things. Even I remember in our temple many years ago, one of the daughters of one devotee, she sneaks out every night to go and party with her friends. So one time she got pregnant because you know they want to enjoy. Uh, and then the devotee family, they had a conference with themselves and they are discussing um, among themselves. The devotee parents are telling the daughter, you know, maybe you know you don't want this child, you know, the girl is like 18 or 19 at that time, and then the parents are devotees, they are thinking and they are telling maybe you should consider, you know, the worst case scenario, abortion. Yeah. So uh, fortunately the girl is a devotee girl, so she said no way, I want to raise the child. uh, so these accidents happen, and people suffer in the long run, you know. uh, the story with that girl, she eventually marries the guy who got her pregnant, but the marriage didn't last long, you know, because they really didn't want to be living together. They just experiment. You can say it's experiment, but actually it's not experiment. In close proximity, people want to enjoy the senses, you know. Uh, so in that sense, Srila Prabhupada gives many, you know, two or three examples in the Bhagavatam. In a class, he gives that how the each senses can trap a person and into cause great difficulty. So he gives a example of a fish. Although the fish is in the water, Prabhupada says there's so many ways he can get food, you know, in the ocean, because that's what the Lord has provided, right? He doesn't need to come out of the water and beg us for food. The food is already there, the fish can get it. But still, when you throw a hook with a worm or some food into the water and then you shake it, the fish will be very attracted to it. Um, and Prabhupada says the fish will be attracted because he cannot control his tongue. So similarly, we have to understand we should be, yes, we should discriminate and not see something and then want to eat it, because that's how the fish reacts. As soon as a hook with something comes, it says, "Oh, I can eat that." So it just goes for it, even though it's a tiny morsel only, and the fish will go and start biting on the hook, and then he'll get hooked and he will lose his life. Uh, and then another example Prabhupada gives is the bee flying to I think he says lotus flower, because he's enjoying the smell. Where's that fragrance? And he said, the lotus smell is so wonderful. So he goes into the lotus flower. He tries to enjoy the fragrance, and then he tries to collect pollen or whatever. And then he's there. So then Prabhupada says in the evening, the lotus starts closing. And then he gets trapped in there. And then after some time, the bee loses his life because he suffocates. And similarly, the third example he gives is the elephant. And in the case of the elephant, he's attracted to having to enjoy the opposite sex. And how do they capture the elephant? They dig a big hole, really deep hole, and then they put a female elephant on the other side of the hole. And then this male elephant he just wants to have sex, so he runs towards her. He drops into the hole, and then they'll catch him, and then they will train him. Yeah, this is how everyone falls into the hole because of wanting to enjoy one of their senses. Um, so therefore, the point here that Srila Prabhupada highlights is young men and young women should not be exposed to touching one another. Nowadays, the society is all about showing off the body, right? It's getting to a point where it's so disgusting that everyone wants to show how ugly they are, actually. They want to walk naked, and it's so disgusting, but that's what they want to do. But this is a trend, this is a fashion, this is wonderful. But because they do that, just as they are untrained to show their body, the other gender is also untrained to understand what it is. But they are thinking this is something I can enjoy visually, as well as they really want to have sex. And so you find even in high school, they instead of educating properly the negativity of unnecessarily getting involved in sexual contact with the opposite anybody, the schools in, at least I know in America, they give contraceptives to the boys and the girls. And obviously, when they get the contraceptives, they're thinking it's okay as long as I use the contraceptives. So therefore, it becomes such a silly thing. Instead of learning how to uh, help this generation, the government or pseudo government or corporations and so on, they actually want the common people, young men and young women, to abuse themselves. They really want that so that they can generate some form of instability in the society. And if there's instability, the controlling government can continue with power. Yeah. In general, the whole idea behind governance is to give the people the minimum what they want, and at the same time do not educate them. Or if I educate them, then I will, as I mentioned yesterday, I will make it so difficult for them that they will spend all their life just working to pay the bills. So although they know these problems exist, they don't want to fix the problems because it'll cause problems. And then, like in US, the what do you call that, pornography, right? It's very big. It's very big. It's one of the biggest industry. It pulls in lots of money, and it drives technology. Meaning, for example, many of the technology that the military use goes straight to the pornography industry. For example, they have this 3D thing now, right? They wear in the face 3D thing. So now all these pornography is in 3D. So the people can wear and then enjoy like a fool, in a dream. They're already in a dream in this material world. They still want to go into another level of dream. And so it causes so much problems, not only for the men, young men and young ladies, because they are now associating through media, and they're lusting for the after women or men. And it is found, at least in US. I do not know how bad it is in Australia. The children and teens are exposed from a very young age. By the time the boy is 12 years old, boys, they have found out, 4 out of 5 boys, by the time they are 12 years old, in the school have seen pornographic pictures of women or whatever they were watching. And then 4 or 5, yeah, 3 out of 5 girls. This is how only it's young girls. And then it causes so much. Uh, Statistics show that most of the time they accidentally see it. Maybe their parents are watching, and so they also see what they're watching, or their friends show them. So accidentally, mostly. But the problem they don't understand is it highly affects the children's body. Actually, it affects the developing brains. Pornography stimulates the brain just like drugs and alcohol does. So it actually leads to terrible addiction, and they cannot give it up. And most of them who are addicted, they have to go for special counseling in society. And they also found statistically that this porn addiction gives rise to very bad personal relationship. The whoever is indulging in pornography, they cannot relate well to another person. If they are watching a female body, then they cannot relate to a female properly. Similarly, they can't relate to a male if they are watching that. And they also found among young adults who get married later on, the divorce rates are high. And they have found through studies with all those people who have divorced, part of their problem was porn addiction. So, and why? Because they found they were not happy with their partners. They found them dissatisfied. And so the relationship gets loosened, and they lose their affection for one another. And then they also found that many people who are addicted to porn are found to be lonely, stress, too much anxiety, and then depression. These are all coming from just one industry. And then finally, the worst thing they also found was many of the girls, they think they are not good looking because they see all this pornography. Men are attracted to that. So therefore, you find that the fashion industry also tends to go towards loose clothings and so on, to expose the body more and more. It's so unfortunate, but that's how it is nowadays. And all because nobody wants to teach how to control senses. If you control the senses, people will become satisfied. Yeah, when you're satisfied with the self, because you are now controlling senses, focus on the Supreme Lord, then there's no economy, no media industry, everyone. So they are against, if they against what we are professing to teach people. They are against Krishna consciousness. Actually, they won't openly say it, but they are against us. Because we are a threat to their industries, their workforce, their economy. So they don't want any of these yogis. And so you find the the yoga studios and all, they don't really teach you how to control senses. They have totally changed what yoga is all about. Yoga to make your body look attractive for the opposite sex. So it is very sad, but that's the reality. Now, just like here it is said about young woman and young lady getting, when they touch, they get overwhelmed. Some people will say, no, that is not true. Men won't be, some people are very strong and they can overwhelm. You talk to them, they'll talk like this, Now, there is in Mahabharat, I think in Mahabharata, also in Ramayana, there is this renowned sage, Vibandaka. I think you all may have heard, some of you may have heard, who was very powerful. And one time he sees this heavenly damsel Urvasi, the most beautiful Apsara. And he's a sage, he's self-control. But when he sees her beauty, he loses his semen, just like that. So you can imagine, in this particular world, we think women are beautiful and so on. But simply by saying that Apsara, this sage who is practiced controlling his senses, lost his semen just like that. And it fell into a river, and it was a deer was drinking water, and it went into the deer body, and the deer, female deer. And so the female deer, because of the potency of his semen, the female deer got pregnant. And after some time, the deer gives birth to a young boy, and the boy is born with a deer horn. And his name is known as Rishaya Shringa. This is in Ramayana, yeah. And and then the father Vibandaka, when he sees that, he understands this is my child. Because these rishis are very powerful. They look at people, they can see their past and present. So he realized this is my son. So he took him and raised him. And he decided, this place is full of women and they are disturbing. I want to raise my son without any exposure to women. So he went deep into the forest, and then he raised the boy with no exposure. He didn't even use the word woman and explain who a woman in the Shastra. He only taught him all the mantras, all the Vedic yagnas, everything he taught, but he never mentioned woman to the boy. So the boy learns it and he becomes very powerful, through the tejas and the potency. So in the meantime, what happens is that in the kingdom of Anga, King Romapada, he has problems because his kingdom is going through famine and drought, terrible famine and drought. And he's thinking, am I not a good king or not? And so he conducts calls a meeting with his priests and the sages, and they discuss. And in their discussion, this Brahmins and so on, they're very powerful. They can understand the reason for the drought, and they say the only way you can counteract is you must get a chaste boy, who has never had any contact with a woman, to come and do this, to marry your daughter. And when he marries, then everything will be, the drought will be broken. So because he is so powerful, whatever ill effect is with it for that kingdom will be wiped out by his potency. So then the king asks, who is this? And then they say, this boy is available in this forest, the son of Vivandaka. But they say you have to be careful because Vivandaka is very uh, angry person, and he will not let his son come. And if you go there, he'll curse you. So the king and his brahmanas, all, they sat down and discussed. And so they came up with a plan. And the plan was they hired the kingdom's young courtesans, or you can say young girls who are trained to be like prostitutes also. And so they brought a few of them, and then they told them what the goal was. So then they know the boy was in the forest, very deep, but there's a river going through it. So they built this beautiful city-like boat with like a city, nice houses, everything, gardens and so on, birds, everything in that. And then they got all these young girls into this boat, and they would dance and sing, and they will come in the boat. So they came close to the hermitage of Vibandaka, where Rishyasringa is. So every day the father will tell him to practice while he'll go and do his things. So one day when the father left, this group of ladies started to sing, but they didn't know where he was. So the boy was curious, where's this sound coming from? And he has never heard a woman sing also, or a young lady sing. He says, this is so sweet. Although he has never heard, he's seeing and he's hearing, and he says it's so sweet. So he comes to where the sound and music is, and then he sees all these prostitutes dancing. But these are young girls, but they are all dressed like boys, you know. But they are all singing and so on. So when they see him, they run to him, and then they say, "Oh, who are you?" And then they talk to him so sweetly, and he's enchanted by their beauty. Also, they all look beautiful, and then they talk to him. They even hug him. So he's like feeling sensations now. And then at the end of the day, they say they have to go, you know. They didn't take him at that time. They say have to go because they know if they hang around too much, the father will come and he'll curse them. So then they will go. But what they do every time is they'll hug him and kiss him, and then they'll go. And he say, "What is this?" They say, "This is okay. This we will do this." And then they go. And he's kind of like overwhelmed with this emotion that is coming in him. So he goes back, and then when his father sees him, how everything you have done, all the rituals, and he said yes. But his father says that something changed, you know. Then he's thinking, what happened? He said nothing. The, because the ladies also told him, don't tell, because if you tell, then your father won't let us associate. So then went. So the same thing happened second day, and this time when Vibandaka sees his son is more different, he's suspecting he is associating with women, you know, but he couldn't prove it. Again, the girls at the end of the day, they hug and kiss him, and he's thinking, is this right? You know, they say, yeah, this is normal. So he comes home, and then again, now this time he can't even do his rituals. He's thinking of this. Just see, you know, the association, how it can damage one's determination. And then after that, the third day, they come, they hug and kiss and so on, and then they tell him, would you want to come with us? And the boy already by this time is feeling so much attraction. He says yes. So they took him in the boat and they go back to King Anga. The kingdom of Anga, to Romapad. And there he gets married, and the drought, everything ends. It's a long story, but basically to shorten it, Vimandaka, through his yogic potency, he sees what happened and he gets very angry. He comes to the kingdom. And then the king explains to him what happens. Somehow or other they appease him. And so the father says, okay, my son can marry your daughter, but as soon as your daughter has a child, my son has to come back to me. So it happens that he gives her the child, and then the boy will come back. Rishashinga will come back. Um, Obviously, even before that, Rishashinga has a child. He doesn't get married first. Yeah, I don't think he gets married. He goes to Dasarat and performs the yagna, because he's the only one who can do that yagna to bring the potency and then the payasa to give to Dasarat. So the point here is that although the boy was trained without all this kind of exposure, but he wasn't taught why it's right or wrong. His father was trying to totally abstain. So you can see when total abstination, and then when he got exposed to the association of these young ladies who just kissed him and hugged him, he lost control. So both young boys and girls must be trained properly from time they are born, as to what is right, why we don't do this, why we don't associate. And when they are trained, Srila Prabhupada says the chances of them falling will be very minimized. He says chances of falling, which means there's a chance of falling. So we can't think I've trained and therefore they don't fall. No, we shouldn't think that. That is not the right understanding. The right understanding is that we train to give people the ability to make good judgment for themselves. We cannot control their destination, because everyone have their free will to make the choice with the knowledge and the tools that are given to them. And in wanting to experience sense gratification that is not recommended, they will also understand the consequences. They'll understand there's karmic reaction. If I do it, I'm the one at fault, not my family members or others, Otherwise, their natural tendencies will lead them to unwanted suffering if they are not trained. Because as we discussed, even in schools where they accidentally may see something, or nowadays even the teachers are not qualified. Hmm? So many cases in America where a teacher, adult teacher having sex with young boys in the class, men having sex with the teenage girls and so on. Teachers, so-called teachers, supposed to teach values, teach how to live a good life, teach how to go back to Godhead. No, everyone is trying to exploit one another. And so therefore this is a sad situation in society, and we should be very observant. Particularly devotees should be very careful, because we are raising our children also, and we are exposing them to all this kind of school system, which is why Prabhupada called them slaughterhouses, Atmaha, where the soul is actually killed from understanding its true purpose. And and therefore many parts of the world, the recommendation is, and I find many parents are doing now, they're doing homeschooling. Now, again, having said that, not all parents can do homeschooling. The circumstances are there, but the children should be trained at home, at least the minimum, explaining what is right and wrong, and how they can understand what is good for them, what is not good for them. Give them the ability to recognize, Mama and Papa told me this is not good, I won't. Right? I remember one child went to school and the teacher was giving them meat to eat. And the child said no. Then teacher said, no, this is good for you. Then the child said, no, my parents told me this is cannot eat. What is this? Because he didn't know. And he said, this is meat. No, I can't touch meat. It's a young kid, it's 5 or 6 years old only. So they become intelligent, and most devotee kids are intelligent. So once they have that ability, they will help others also. So, and we also find in Bhagavatam, not only here in this fourth canto, we also find many places about the problems of relating to the opposite sex, unrestrictedly. So even in the case of King Yayati, right, when he was going through a forest where Devayani was in the well, right, or something like that. No, no, not Devayani. Her maid was in the well, and the king saved her, and then yeah, and then they fall in love or something. But Devayani wanted to marry the king, so she went and told Sukracharya, and so the king was forced to marry. Yayati was forced to marry her. But at the same time, then because he saved the other girl, she came to him, and he's a Kshatriya. Then he had to say yes to her, and he gave kids, and so they had such a big problem. So Prabhupada says that one should be very careful how one associates with the opposite sex also. you know Even in this modern society also, even if you like, generally you shake hand in workplace and so on, ideally you should wash your hands after that with whoever you shake your hands, because there is some contamination, and when you touch people or when you see them, there is karma also involved. And not only that, your mind gets agitated also. If they're very good looking, you will be agitated and so on. So Prabhupada says, although we may teach people not to be attracted to opposite sex, we can teach the etiquette, how to respect. Oh, Haribol. Still, he says a young man shouldn't sit next to a young lady, or even his mother and sister. Prabhupada mentions that in many times in the purports, he says, because one may in general not be attracted to his mother, his sister, and so on, but still it can happen. If he or she is intoxicated, they will do something foolish. Their intelligence will be gone, or if they are sitting too close or doing thinking something, and then they maybe also fall down unnecessarily. And Prabhupada says it is a psychological fact. This happens. And Prabhupada, is our acharya. He knows what he's talking about, and we shouldn't judge and say that he doesn't know what he's talking about. Right. So we may be all of us, we are all attracted by lusty desires, but we have to learn to train to control that. Kamesha, Krodesha, Rajaguna, Samudbhava. So because the material world that we got is all full of mode of passion, mostly. So when we associate there, our desires become lusty desires mostly. So you find when you associate with your friends and so on, what they talk mostly? Nonsense. Talking about sex or some movie star, it's always nonsense. And the games they do is always full of lusty things. And then the movies they watch is full of lusty things. Every show, even if there's no connection to it, must have something to do with some nonsense. And then also, if you go to storerooms to buy things also, right? Just to buy a refrigerator, they'll have a very sexy or good looking woman next to it. It's so they say sex sells. So therefore one should be very extremely careful, Prabhupada said, when dealing with the opposite sex, whether it's a good looking man or good looking woman. For men, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu set the example, right? He said once he took sannyas, he wouldn't let any woman come near him. They have to be at a distant, pay obeisances. Same with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So similarly for brahmacharis or single men, it is forbidden to see even the wife of his guru if she is young. And it says in the Shastra, she can, by right, she is supposed to take care of the Gurukul with the husband. But if she's very young, she shouldn't see the boys, she shouldn't take care of them, she shouldn't bathe them, etc., etc. So these are important things that we should understand, and therefore, by reading the Bhagavatam, what it highlights is that we are very fallible. Yeah, you have to go. Okay. We are very fallible individuals, and so we must be very, very careful how to control our senses. Now, of course, here in the purport also, in the senses, there are the working senses. They are the five knowledge acquiring senses, and the other are five working senses. And the senses are used to get knowledge are the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and the skin. By looking, you get some understanding. By hearing, you get knowledge. By smelling, oh, this is a rose scented. So knowledge comes through all these sense organs. But if it's not used in the service of Krishna, it will be used in the service of sense gratification. The senses will want to go and enjoy the sense objects. And then the five working senses are the voice, the legs, the hands, the anus and genitals. So if the senses are not in tandem with Krishna consciousness, then we'll misuse our senses. And each sense has infinite number of actions. They will do so many things. And therefore, we should be very careful. Yeah, I think I'll stop here because that's basically all I can speak on this verse. Any comments and questions from the exalted devotees? No comments. If there's no comments, then I will end the class here. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, I will see you tomorrow then. Hare.
His Grace Radha Krishna Prabhu Ki.
Jai.